I'd like to bring the October 9th Planning and Zoning meeting to order. Would everybody please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Commissioner Posenel?
Present.
Commissioner Selberg?
Present.
Commissioner Buck?
Here.
Commissioner Azarmi? Commissioner Walker?
Here.
Commissioner Coletta?
Here.
Commissioner Jones?
Present.
Commissioner Simons? Commissioner Gordon?
Here.
Chairman Flouché?
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. A couple of announcements. Should anyone who has not signed in, please do so at the table located in the lobby. Should anyone wish to speak, please complete the request form, which is also located in the lobby table next to the sign-up sheet. A request to speak form must be completed for each item you would like to speak on, including sub-items. Please note that there are stairs on the right, left, center aisles, and we ask that you use caution when using these stairs. There is also a ramp located at the audience's left. If anyone has written comments, exhibits, petitions, photos, or letters they intend to present at today's meeting, please have 17 copies and give them to the staff member at the back of the auditorium. She's got her hand raised up there. Thank you. If you do not have 17 copies, you may use the table with the overhead camera next to the podium to present your documents. If you want your documents to go on record, you must hand them to the clerk after the presentation with the agenda item clearly marked on the document. Members of the public cannot speak to staff members while they are sitting at the table with microphones during the meeting. If you have any questions, please see the staff member located at the back of the auditorium who will meet you in the lobby. Staff members are in the front. A timer will be activated and all speakers will be limited to 2 minutes to make their presentations and statements. Everyone, please turn off your cell phones and pagers, place them on vibrate during the meeting. If you have to receive a phone call, please leave the meeting area and go outside in the lobby there to have your conversation. We also ask that the audience refrain from talking with one another during the presentations and discussions. Today, the Planning and Zoning Commission will hear public testimony and then forward the recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. The items with the recommendations made by the Commission will be heard by the Board of Supervisors on Monday, November 4th at 9:30 a.m. in this same location, with the exception of any continued items. Everyone is attending the meeting is asked to remember that the administrative building and campus are tobacco-free areas, which mean no smoking is allowed curb to curb. Also, only bottled water is allowed in the auditorium. No food, soda, coffee, etc. is allowed in the auditorium. If there are any items remaining on the agenda, the Commission will break for lunch at 1 p.m. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes from last month's meeting?
Yes.
And if I could have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the last meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Posnell and Mr. Jones. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, saying, thank you, Michael. That happens once in a while.
You're welcome.
Motion carries. All right, moving on to our regular agenda, item number 1.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, thank you. Number 1 is an evaluation of a request for a revised manufactured home and recreational vehicle park plan and a petition of exceptions for Sunshiner's manufactured home and RV park on Assessor's Parcel number 402-63-051 in the Arizona Strip vicinity, Mohave County. This is a revised as-built manufactured RV park plan. It was required to be submitted to the county for review due to changes that occurred after the original park plan was approved. The park has existing zoning violations due to numerous room additions and accessory structures being built within the setback and required separation distance between structures after the original park plan was approved. If this plan is approved, the petition of petition of exceptions will help bring the park into compliance with the zoning ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? We have no speakers on this item. Would the applicant like to address the commission?
I don't know what I'm going to address, sir. Terry Rosenberg, I'm the president of the Sunshiners. Been president for approximately 7 years. All this stuff has, all this extra building and stuff has taken place in the last, well, prior to 2000. I can't explain why. I can't explain why why none of the permits were sought for it. I'm just sitting here in the middle of everything and trying to get it squared away the best I can.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the speaker? I have a couple. When did you take over the Sunshiner RV Park?
As president,
Well, we can start there. I'm just trying to figure out how long this has been going on and how long maybe your relationship is with the park.
I moved into the park in 1999. It was all done prior to that. The park was established in 1984, 85. Revised, we added some additions in 86 or 87, an additional 8 spots. It's all been approved. It was all approved. Obviously, the park was built, and people have been living there. There's 67 mobile homes there and 1 RV spot. Originally, it was going to be RV spots, but a bunch of old people get together and want a vacation, so they started bringing in trailers.
Well, I'm not sure about the other commissioners, but I spent quite a bit of time looking over your exceptions or your petition for exceptions, and some of them I personally can live with, some of them I personally cannot live with. And I think maybe we need to have maybe a little bit better understanding of when we're talking about between lot lines. I know they're not really lot lines, but they're space lines. But my problem is these units that are under 5 feet from another, or 5 feet from the property line or the setback line. The thing that it doesn't tell us is how close is it to another structure. And that is my big problem, because if it's backs up against another structure on another lot, that's probably, one, the building department is not going to give you a building permit, and two, it's way outside of the ordinance that we have. So I certainly hope that we get a little discussion going on that, and maybe if you could come back, if we can't come to a conclusion, come back to the commission and at least let us know how far these structures are away from other structures, not counting the mobile home. I'm talking about on the setbacks and the side setbacks for the mobile, because some of this just doesn't, or it's not very clear. It certainly wasn't very clear to me, but there certainly was a lot of exceptions. So,
I've worked real close with Terry Maxim on this thing. She could probably answer that better than I can.
okay, 1 second. Yes.
I'd kind of like to hear that from reading the material and looking at the setbacks. Yes. They say 0 setback where 5 feet should be. It's almost like they're living on top of one another. I mean, there's several that have less than 1 foot in a side setback, and visually that just looks like we're trying to put a massive Band-Aid over a bad, dangerous situation when you have that many people living that close. And do they live in these, or do they rent them, or?
They live in them as winter homes. They snowbird. I have 9 permanent residents that stay there year-round.
Okay. And is the configuration, the visual I get from this is that they're almost within inches of one another.
No. I don't know of any of them that's that close.
Maybe,
And I personally measured every one of them.
okay, well, like lot 30, 33, the east side setback is 1 foot where minimum is 5 foot. Lot 36, the east side setback is 0 where the minimum is 5 feet. That sounds pretty close. Is it that cozy? No.
Mr. Chair, is that the awnings that are that close, or is that the mobile units themselves that are that close? So the mobile units are spaced, but then they've added these awnings and carports and sheds, and that's what's creating this problem, correct?
I think it's an impression, sir, that they're that close. They're not.
Well, I mean, like this one says half a foot, where the minimum is 5 feet, 0 feet where the minimum is 5 feet. That's lot 7. Lot 9, 0 where the minimum. So is that the sheds right up against one another? Or is that the mobiles right up against one another? What is?
No.
May I have permission to speak?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please come up and state your name. You need to come up to the microphone, ma'am, please. State your name.
My name is Terry Maxim. I'm the code enforcement officer from Mohave County for this area up at the Strip. And I've been working with the Sunshiners now for 4 years to get them into compliance. The structures that we are talking about have been there, 45 of those structures have been there since 1990. 25 of those structures have been added since 1990 through 2003. And that's 15 of them, and then 8 of them have been added since 2003 to 2010, and no more construction went on at that point. The setbacks for the lots, where it shows 1/2 an inch or 1 inch or whatever the measurement is there, has to do with they are required to have a 5-foot setback, okay, on that particular lot.
Well,
the other lot, I'll get there.
Let me interrupt you just for 1 second.
These are carports.
Okay.
These are all carports.
There's a 15-foot setback on one side and a 5-foot setback on the other side. So what side are you talking about?
Okay, there are only 8 structures that do not meet the requirements that are in the petition of exception for 20 feet meeting for a livable structure where people reside. Out of those, they're only short 3 feet on some of them and 2 feet on others. So they don't meet the 20 feet by 3 feet. Those that have the additions added to them, okay, meet the requirements for the code, and those that are close together, if they do not meet the requirements for the fire department and for the building department, they will have to be, the permits will not be issued at that point. So they have to meet those requirements for the fire department on the awnings and the structures.
I understand all that.
Yeah.
I do, but.
But there's only 8.
What you're talking about is not what you're asking for. You're asking for exceptions on everything except for 11 units.
Right, everything has to be in there because that's what the requirement is for the code for the planning and zoning Mohave County ordinance, the zoning ordinance.
I understand.
That's why everything has to be addressed.
I understand, and you can't
bet.
get the building permit. So let me ask you another question, being the code enforcer. Are these structures that do not meet the building ordinances for the county, are they going to be moved or torn down, or what are they? My problem is fires.
Right.
And if there's a fire anywhere, it's going to affect many, many people.
Right. The way it works is that they are asking for, have applied for a building permit, okay? The permit, if all of this gets approved, will be issued. Once they ask for an inspection, the building department will go out there. If it doesn't meet the codes, then it have to be either addressed to be removed or whatever the building requirement will be for the building department and the fire department.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a question. Generally, isn't the setback for the building code for a structure of that type 3 feet minimum to the property line? And if it is, will that be adhered to?
Yes.
On a side property line?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm not sure where to go. I don't want to put it forward. I don't like the way it sounds. But I'm not sure how to, I want to give them some direction to go in. I don't want to just shut it down because it.
Well, personally, I think we need to know that the setbacks are based on kind of imaginary lines, because there's no really subdivision. Okay, they've identified the lines and all that for the park, and that's what they're using for those numbers. My concern is if it's 5 feet from the setback, or 3 feet, or 2 feet. I actually only care about the ones that are less than 5 feet. But if the yard, the neighbor, also has a unit on the 0, that means that they're basically back to back.
They touch in the wind.
And exactly, and they need to be 5 feet.
That's why we have setbacks.
That's right. And I just can't, we start making exceptions like that, we're going to have everybody in Mohave County coming in and wanting to do a petition of exceptions because they want to do something. And we've already had those before, and that's my dilemma. So I'm thinking maybe if they could come back and tell us how far these, whatever they're talking about, I don't know if they're talking about a mobile home is off 5 feet or whatever it is, they're not telling us. If they come back and tell us what it is, that gives us maybe a better understanding of the placement of these units and how far they are away from other units.
Maybe there's some confusion when normally you think of setbacks and you think of traditional housing, you think of the wall of the bedroom as 5 feet from the property line. And apparently in this case, we're measuring whatever is there, be it an awning or a widget. And I think a visual presentation of what we're talking about would be beneficial. But let me also ask the officials, when dealing with setbacks, do awnings count? Is it the side of the coach, the not mobile home, or is it the side of the structure, or is it the awnings and the danglings and the roof edge and the eaves that come into play?
You know, Luke, if you could just read that section where it calls for the setbacks, that would be maybe helpful.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. Under 27I, some number, let's see, C, D1, separations, it reads 1A, manufactured home shall have a total combined side yard setback distance of 20 feet. The minimum side yard shall be 5 feet. So what's that saying is there has to be typically at least 5 feet separation between the space line and the unit. But if there is only 5 feet on one space, the adjoining space to meet that 20-foot separation would then have to have 15 feet. So if they split it right down the middle, it would come to a 10-foot setback, if you will, to equal that 20 feet. So there's different ways to get to that 20 feet, 7 and 13, or 10 and 10, or 5 and 15.
Well, I think what's happening here is that some of the people put awnings on the side of their house and probably took them as far as they possibly could rather than keeping them within. I'm surprised there's really no rules at the RV park that monitors this stuff, but I think that, does everybody understand what we're talking about now?
Chairman Fouchette?
Yes. Mr. Gordon, go ahead.
Yeah, there is a exhibit in the documents there, an as-built site plan that it's kind of hard to read because the quality of it isn't the best. You can't see it, but
Right.
It does show where the structures are. It does appear to show where the sheds are. It does, I am assuming, the dotted lines off of the awnings and such. It gives a little bit of a feel of kind of how things are situated. There's definitely some structures, some awnings, some sheds that seem to kind of be back to back on property lines. The main units themselves seem fairly well separated, but you can't read the dimensions, so it's hard to tell exactly what is what.
Yeah, I looked at it, you're right, it's a little difficult to read, but there are several that are back to back and side to side, and granted, some of them I'm not sure what they are because it's just not very legible to read. Thank you, Mr. Gordon.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to point out from my experience with residential is the building code requires 5 foot for each property, or 3 feet minimum for fire. So that would mean they'd have to be separated by 6 feet from each other. Correct me if I'm wrong, staff, but that's my experience.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Selberg, the separation between buildings actually a lot of times depends upon the type of construction.
Right, yeah. Yeah, this is a residential, probably a 5N construction.
Yeah. And my understanding was 5 and 5. It might very well be 3 and 3. Mr. Chairman, one thing I would like the commission to consider, and that is for those units that are, or for those spaces and units that are showing up under the petition of exception as being within 5 feet of the setback from the space line, or less than 10 feet separation between the units. May I suggest that two additional pieces of information be brought before this board? One, exactly what is that picture between that particular space and the space next door where the encroachment is. The second is that if that spacing is less than is required by the IRC, the International Residential Code, that code will give you options for what to do. Additional separation. If you haven't got that, then a change in materials is an option, or perhaps even sprinklers. So why don't we bring back to you, a better picture of exactly what those spaces look like and those encroachments look like, along with those options allowed in the IRC for dealing with that situation, other than the obvious, which is dismantling.
Okay.
30 days?
I don't think we can get it done in
60?
30 days because there's have to do,
Give
how
them
long a period, Chris? 60 or 30?
Mr. Chairman, the department asked for a minimum of 60 days.
Okay. So we probably need a motion for that and to
add the additional.
continue it, but why we're continuing it as far as what it is, the information that we want, which is a better idea of what we don't have.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Christine alluded to, I'd like to make a specific part of the motion that they do come back with pictures. I think this needs a visual. In addition to the IRC and the other investigation of that. I'd like to continue it for 60 days or table it for 60 days to be brought back before us with those questions addressed.
Okay, is that, you want to make a motion to that effect?
Yes.
All right.
I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion and a second to continue item number 1 for 60 days to get more clarification. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those opposed, same sign. Okay,
Mr.
we've got...
Chairman, are you okay with that? Do you understand what our confusion is?
Yes, I understand what you're trying to get at.
Great, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
What you want.
Yeah, well, it's just, there are some issues that we really have to pay a lot of attention to before we just say yes. So,
I understand that.
Okay.
I think they've been addressed. We'll just get back with you.
And actually, if you can get those back, the sooner you can get them back, the sooner they can get them to us and we can look at them. So don't, if you would, don't get them back to them the day before the meeting. If you can do it a week ahead of time, that'd be lovely.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 2.
Item 2 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 402-64091 from an RE 10A residential recreation 10-acre minimum lot size zone to an RE 1A residential recreation 1-acre minimum lot size zone to bring a parcel into compliance with zoning in the Beaver Dam vicinity. Staff recommends approval of the rezone as indicated in the staff report. Thank you.
Is the applicant present for item number 2?
You're not. I'm here to represent or answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. We have no speakers on the item. Does the commission have any questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we accept the applicant's request per staff recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Jones and a second by Mr. Collada. Thank you, Paul. I'm sorry. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 3.
Item 3 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 402-64092 from an RE 10A residential recreation 10-acre minimum lot size zone to an RE 1A residential recreation 1-acre minimum lot size zone to bring a parcel into compliance with zoning in the Beaver Dam vicinity. Staff recommends approval of the rezone as indicated in the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant present for item number 3?
Here to answer questions again.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? There are no speakers on the item. Any questions or comments from the commission? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve per staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for item number 3. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item
Mr. Chairman?
number- Yes.
Could you identify the maker of the motion? and the second,
Mr. Posner.
All right, Posnell's made the motion. Who seconded it?
please? I had a shot and somebody else did, so.
Mr. Jones?
Mr. Jones?
Okay,
Cool.
sorry about that.
No problem.
Item number 4.
Item 4 is an evaluation of a request for an extension of time for a rezone of assessor's parcel numbers 25431-008C, 009F, 009G, 25433-004A, 005B, and 011C from an AR-10 agricultural residential 10-acre minimum lot size zone to a C2H 10A general commercial highway frontage 10-acre minimum lot size zone to allow future commercial uses in the Silverado vicinity. We do have a request from one of the parcel owners that was included in this rezone that no longer wants to be a part of it and has requested that their parcel revert. Staff recommends that the zoning of assessor's parcel 25433-010B revert to prior zoning of AR 10A, agricultural residential 10-acre minimum lot size as requested by the owner, and that the extension of time for the remaining parcels be approved as indicated in the staff report. Thank you.
Is the applicant present for item number 4?
I'm here to represent.
Okay. I think you're the only speaker, Richard.
I really don't need to speak.
Okay. Well, any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr.
It-
Go ahead.
It appears that they're responding to Board of Supervisors action taken in August 2013, and yet this is the third extension of time on the property. So I'm not sure the timeline involved with that. And this extension, if accepted, goes till September 2016. Did I miss a step in there?
I think, John,
Yeah.
wasn't this part of the Silverado
Yes.
project?
Well, it's
Energy thing that we did years ago?
It's a project that's kind of at the north end of
Right.
Silverado. The last extension was in 2011, which extended it through November of 2013. So this extension will pick up from the expiration in 2013 to 2016 if it's approved.
Okay, so it's basically a 3-year extension and reverting one parcel back and everything else pretty much, well, except they want C2H, so. Okay.
So it's the same, Mr. Chairman, it's the same issues, he's just got another 2-year extension, a 3-year extension, what he couldn't complete in the last 3?
That's true.
Okay.
That's
And
true.
how many extensions do we grant?
Until we decide we don't want to do that anymore.
Oh, okay.
And depends on what the applicant is attempting to do. So, you know, a lot of extensions that we've done in the last 4 or 5 years are strictly economic. And that's kind of what this is, too.
Good reasoning, okay.
You know, if Interstate 11 happens, you know, then, you know, something will probably happen there. If it doesn't, or it's 10 years down the road, then we've got a different scenario.
Thank you. It was more, I wasn't opposed to this, it's just clarification of the process.
Yeah, well, this has been around for a while.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions of the applicant? No? Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve item number 4 for the 3-year extension per staff recommendations.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Selberg and a second by Mr. Jones. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you, Michael. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number...
Question?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, I'm sorry,
I just wanted to clarify whether that motion included the reversion of
Yes.
the one parcel,
Yes, it did.
because it only mentioned actually the extension, so.
Well, that was in your staff recommendations, if I read correctly, right?
Yeah, I just didn't hear a mention of
Okay.
the reversion. Wanted to
Yep, We're
clarify.
going to revert that one back, and everything else goes ahead.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, item number 5.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. Number 5 is an evaluation of a request for a recreational vehicle park plan and petition of exception for Tompkins Canyon RV Park on Assessor's Parcel Number 203-03-012 in the Wickiup vicinity. This petition of exception is for 4 dry RV spaces on the property. This is a new recreational vehicle park, and staff recommends approval as outlined in the staff report. Thank you.
Is the applicant present for item number 5? All right. We have no speakers on item number 5. Any questions or comments from the petition, or from the commission? Petition. That's good. We have no questions or comments from the commission. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve per staff recommendation.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Posnell and a second by Mr. Walker. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Item number 5 passes. Item number 6.
Item 6 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel numbers 33011, okay, it's 012L, I need to clean my glasses, and 012M from an AR-10A agricultural residential 10-acre minimum lot size zone to AR and AR-2A agricultural residential 1 and 2-acre minimum lot size zones to allow creation of 5 new residential parcels in the Long Mountain vicinity. Staff recommends approval as indicated in the staff report. I did have a phone call from the applicant yesterday indicating she's in the hospital and would not be able to be here today, but her son may be here if you have questions. Thank you.
Is the applicant present?
No, she's...
All right. There are no speakers on the item. I do have a question, John, and the Surbat ranches that are relatively close there, what, on the zoning map, it doesn't really tell me, out of those, they look like larger lots. What size parcels are we talking about there?
Let's see. Mr. Chairman, I believe those are probably 1 acre lots.
Okay.
1 acre and larger. The zoning is AR, so they would have to be at least 1 acre.
Okay. I just couldn't tell if it was a small subdivision or what it was. All right, we have no speakers on item number 6. Any questions or comments from the commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve per staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Posnell and a second by Mr. Gordon. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Item number 7.
Item 7 is an evaluation of a request for a zoning use permit on Assessor's Parcel 343-19251B for a propane tank of approximately 500 gallons and a dispensing facility in a C2 general commercial zone in the Meadview vicinity. Staff recommends approval of the zoning use permit as indicated in the staff report. Thank you.
Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Oh.
Mike Kelly.
All right, state your name,
Meadview RV
please.
Park.
Please state your name.
Mike Kelly with the Meadview RV Park.
Okay. Did you sign up?
Yes, I did.
Okay, well, I think maybe you signed in, but you didn't sign up to speak, but that's all right, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, could I please get his address?
Yeah. Could you please,
My address is P.O. Box 26232. That's Prescott Valley, Arizona, 86312.
Thank you.
okay.
All right. No questions?
Haven't got that far.
Okay.
Any questions from the commission to the, are you the applicant, or are you for or against, or?
I'm the applicant.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Mr. Buck.
Mr. Kelly, do you do a great deal of barbecuing, or are you going to sell propane?
What we're doing is for the convenience of the customers in the RV park. We've kind of have a little situation in Meadview where the local store had closed, and I was a little concerned about my customers this winter not having propane available to them.
Is the area, are you going to fill propane tanks on the coaches themselves where they need an approach and a pad, or are you going to just fill tanks?
Mostly just tanks from that's what we're set up for RVs.
In your process, does the fire department get involved with this for safety and?
We had already, we're not in the fire zone, the fire district. We're out of the fire district.
So is there any regulation as to, in terms of safety to leaks and square footages and lighted cigarettes and such?
We've been talking with Luke on the setbacks to make sure that we're within requirements. The John Sampson with Unisource had come out and checked our location to make sure we're clear of power lines and everything to meet the requirements.
So it's just for your customer, not a commercial like gas station people
No,
drive
it's
by?
just for the RV park.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments of the speaker? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve item 7 as per staff recommendations.
Second?
We have a motion by Mr. Walker and a second by Mr. Jones, or Buck rather. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign, motion carries. Item number 8.
Item 8 is an evaluation
Thank
of
you very much.
request for a zoning use permit on Assessor's Parcel number 210-56-008A for a 1,000-gallon propane tank and dispensing facility in a C2H general commercial highway frontage zone in the Arizona Gateway vicinity. Staff recommends approval of the use permit as indicated in the staff report. Thank you.
Is the applicant present? This is for Loves, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. The applicant is not present. We have no speakers on the item. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion to approve item number 8
Okay.
for staff recommendations.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Selberg and a second by Mr. Jones. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Item number 9.
Item 9 is an evaluation of a request for a zoning use permit on assessor's parcel number 344-13045D for a secondary residence in an AR 14A agricultural residential 14-acre minimum lot size zone in the Long Mountain vicinity. Staff recommends approval of the rezone, or of the zoning use permit as indicated in the staff report. Thank you.
Is the applicant present for item number 9? Would you like to address the commission?
No.
You don't have to. I mean, if we have questions, we'll call you up.
All righty.
All right. Do we have any questions? Comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Item number 9.
I move we accept per staff recommendations, item 9.
Second.
Who seconded?
Posnell.
We have a motion by Mr. Jones and a second by Mr. Posnell. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 10A.
10A is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel numbers 30509, 037, 038, and 039 from AR, agricultural residential 1-acre minimum lot size zone, to an AR 5A, agricultural residential 5-acre minimum lot size zone, to allow a residential subdivision in the Kingman vicinity. Staff recommends approval of the proposed rezone as indicated in the staff report. Thank you.
Is the applicant present? Okay. Would you like to speak? Yes, no, wait, questions? Got it. Any questions or comments from the commission?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Ray, are you taking 1-acre parcels and putting them in 5s is what essentially you're doing? So you're upgrading or expanding? Okay.
That was a yes by Mr. Ray Stadler. Okay. I'll entertain a motion if
Mr.
there's no
Chairman.
more questions or comments.
I'll make a motion to approve item 10A per staff recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Selberg and a second by Mr. Buck. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. 10A carries. Item number 10B.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. The 10B is the evaluation of a request for a subdivision preliminary plat for Winchester Canyon Tract 3081, being a proposed subdivision on assessor's parcel number 305-09-037, 038, and 039, located in the Kingman vicinity. This is a companion item to the rezone you just heard. This preliminary plat depicts approximately 116 acres divided into about 20 single-family residential lots with a minimum lot size of at least 5 acres each. Staff recommends approval as outlined in the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The applicant is present. We have no speakers on item number 10B. Any questions or comments of the commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve per staff recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Posnell and a second by Mr. Selberg. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 11.
Item number 11 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcels numbers 324-25-298 and 324-25-299 from an RO, single-family residential manufactured homes prohibited zone, to an R2, medium-density residential zone, to allow a developmental disability day center in the Kingman vicinity. Staff has received a couple letters of objection and a petition of objection from property owners within 300 feet. Thank you.
Is the applicant present? Would you like to address the commission?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Commissioner, my name is Bill Abbott. I have talked to a couple of the people who signed the petitions against it,
and they don't understand what the changes are. They said that they had some information, but I would just like to request that we have staff explain what it really does, and what Mr. Neitlinger, who's the executive director, who's here with me, he's the one made the request, wants it done, to keep what he's been doing there the past 10 years to be the same, identical. We want to make no changes whatsoever unless there's some complaints from the neighbors, and he's willing to fix them. So I'd just like for staff to explain why they made a recommendation for approval on this.
Mr. Abbott, has there been any complaints filed or anything in the 10 years they've been there?
There's never been any that we're aware of.
Staff, John? Or
prior to this letter that they received.
Okay, thank you.
So keep me open if there's any questions.
You got it.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the purpose of the R2 zone, which is medium-density residential, it's primarily for obviously medium-dense residential uses. It has a smaller minimum lot size of 4,000 square feet, although in our staff recommendation, we're recommending we apply that the Commission recommend a 6,000 square foot minimum lot size, the same as a typical RO zone. The district is appropriate for things like single-family neighborhoods, moderate-sized lot patterns, as well as development for additional family housing areas with minimum requirements. The uses that are allowed in the R2 zone are like zero lot line, single-family attached dwellings, townhomes or patio homes, multiple family dwellings, including condominium projects, duplexes, residential facilities that serve as integral part of permitted residential uses, including but not limited to golf course, golf house, clubhouse, community center building, tennis facilities. Other uses similar to that, churches and libraries, schools, parks, so on, daycare, childcare, preschool, and the most important part for this request is adult care, adult day care center, adult foster care, assisted living center, and assisted living facility. And then the final permitted use is wireless telecommunications. Now, obviously, a number of these uses would technically be allowed on these two lots. A number of them would not be practical, just given the relative size of these two lots. So that's the purpose of the R2, and this was one solution that could address, or one possible solution to address the applicant's requirement or need for appropriate zoning for what they're proposing to do there. And of course, I think they will certainly be able to describe that in more detail, what the proposed use is, but it does meet the definition of an adult day health care center as an allowed use in that zoning district. Thank you.
All right. Do you know of any complaints that have been filed on this?
No, I'm not aware of any.
Property?
There's been none that I'm aware of on our system. Thank you.
What about the health department? Nothing? Okay. We have several speakers. Mr. Young.
I have a...
Please state your name.
My name is Tom Young. I have a map from Google that, number one, shows 15 cars parked around a residential area. The cars that are parked on College Drive absolutely blocks the view when you come out of College Circle. You have to pull out onto College Drive before you can see if any cars is coming. If you stop back where you could actually make a safe turn left, you only have somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 feet to get out and get lined out whether you can see a car coming or not. Even with the provisions of pushing the cars up next to the building, that still limits your visibility to 100 feet. This has been a problem for several of the neighbors. Now, why they haven't launched a complaint before, I don't know. People in our neighborhood just kind of take things the way they are, and that's the way it is. But after talking to several people, that was one of the main complaints, is the traffic area. Second complaint is that we bought houses in a residential area. And this area is 5 blocks off of Scotland Hill Road. It just seems to me like it would be unfair to have that much traffic, that much in and out, in a neighborhood that was originally for residential people. We have a little girl next door to us that likes to ride her bicycle around the circle. The only way that people has to come in when they drop off their students is to come around our circle and go back down. That allows to about 40 cars a day using our circle. That eliminates our little girls up there from riding their bicycles. The parents won't let them go out there because the traffic is too heavy. We live on a cul-de-sac. We do that simply because we don't want the traffic. I guess that's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jan Sidwell.
Good morning. My name is Jan Sidwell, and I'm the owner of 4759 College Circle. I currently lease this residence to Ron and Diane Finnault, who have resided there for 4 years. Upon reviewing the situation with Mr. Vino, whom was unable to attend this meeting because of his work schedule, I discovered that both he and his son have recently encountered near traffic accidents at the intersection of College Circle and College Drive, just a few feet from his home. He informed me this was because of the extra vehicles parked at the corner of the cul-de-sac, obscuring their vision from the oncoming traffic on College Drive. I spoke with a planner last week, and she said the owner's applicants for this rezone will be required to plan for and provide for sufficient parking. Where is there room for additional parking in this residential neighborhood? May I ask if the applicant is aware of any buses, vans, or larger vehicles for the handicapped which will be used to transport the recipients of their services? If so, does the county plan to install cautionary lights to warn other moving vehicles, pedestrians of their pickup drop-off maneuvers? I particularly bought into this area because of the family-oriented scenario that my home at the far end of the cul-de-sac would afford. I believe this rezone may invite further implementation of such public services and would severely disrupt the intended family environment. As a professional realtor, I also deem it a severe blow to the already damaged real estate market in that area. Would you purchase a home on this street to raise your children with all this commercial traffic? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Herlinda Young, did I pronounce that correctly?
Good morning. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity of speaking this morning.
Please state your name.
Herlinda Young. I'm sorry. I live at the end of the cul-de-sac on College Circle. My husband and I purchased our home approximately 1 year ago, assuming we were getting in a nice residential quiet area. This is where we wanted to spend our retirement. We've had nothing but traffic. In the year that we've lived there, the traffic on the circle has increased tremendously. It's really getting to the point where all the neighbors are complaining about it. We've talked with many of them. My husband and I were the ones that did talk with our neighbors in general. We tried to be very honest with them in what we heard and what we were telling them. No one, to our knowledge, was asked to begin with if they could have a commercial property or a business there in that location. And they have been unhappy with it because it is there. We're unhappy with it. I think that what this company, the Solo company, is doing is wonderful. I have a handicapped grandchild, physically and mentally. So I know these facilities are needed, but I honestly believe that there are enough empty commercial businesses in our area that they can go to something like that, have plenty of space for their business, have plenty of parking for their people that are coming in and out a lot. Thank you.
Okay, any questions of the speaker?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Back on Jan and her comment, 4 years you've had that property and the facility's been operational now for 10 years, is that correct?
Do you mind coming back up to the microphone?
I tried to catch you, and I'm sorry I didn't get the transition
apologize.
there.
Should have.
I've owned the property probably about 6 years.
Okay, restate your name, please.
Janice Sidwell.
And you have not been aware of the fact that?
No, not until I got the rezone. I don't live there, I lease it.
Have your tenants ever complained?
No, I don't. I have a management, so they wouldn't complain to me. And to my knowledge, my management hasn't had any complaint.
Okay, thank you.
Any other
Very
questions?
much. Any other questions? No? All right. Dina Martinez.
Hi,
Please state your name.
Dina Martinez.
Okay.
I live at 1611 College Drive, and it's on College Circle. My front door faces the front door of this facility. And I've lived there we bought our home there 14 years ago. When we moved there wasn't even any houses there, empty. Then they built the houses, we had people buying them, families, and that's what it was. And then I guess it's been about like 10 years that this daycare, I don't know exactly what they call it, moved in. And at first it was, I guess it was all right. It was quiet, but it grew and grew and grew. And I want to thank Mr. and Mrs. Young because I didn't know I could come up and complain, or I would have years ago, because not only the traffic, well, I'm right there, and these poor people, you feel sorry for them, but they act up, and you hear all this screaming, and sometimes you wonder if somebody's killing somebody. I mean, that's not for me to be hearing, or my grandkids, So it's a residential area, I like to be able to have my grandchild, my great-grandchild, 5 years old. I don't let her outside alone because I don't know what's across the street there, And I'm not being mean. I have a brother that's mentally disabled and stuff like that, but I think that they will be better in a place where where they could be without all these cars. I've almost got hit quite a few times coming out of that cul-de-sac. And then I guess when somebody lodged a complaint, they started moving the cars out of the way. Well, they're all bunching up over here like in a big old bunch right here, by across the street from my house. They don't park on my side of the street anymore because I guess they told them they couldn't do that. But I went a few times and told them, you have to move your car out from in front of my mailbox because I'm not going to get no mail. I'd have them lined up all down the street. That stopped. And they moved the cars back a little bit. At least I can see if there's a car coming when I'm pulling out. But the main issue is that we don't feel like it's a family residence anymore. It's kind of like, different. And I guess I should have complained earlier, but like I said, it started out real low. And it's going to get nothing but bigger. They keep on buying more and more properties, and pretty soon we're out.
I don't think so. Thank you so very much.
Thank
Any
you.
questions of the speaker? Thank you very much. Stephen, okay, that's the one that this appears to be.
I'm the Stephen Neidlinger. I'm the executive director for Solo. I work for the programs. We've been there for 10 years, and I'm sorry people haven't, mentioned their complaints. I wish I'd known about them. I would have fixed them. That's what I'm here for. As far as the parking is concerned, we've made an arrangement to park our employees in other places and shuttle them in. We have 6 minivans that we can use for this reason. We use these minivans so that we can take our people out in the community. So if you want to limit the amount of cars that we have there to a normal level, that's fine. I'm sorry about the people being emotionally loud, but that's why we have them. We're trying to make sure that they're a normal, everyday place so they can learn to act and be normal every day.
What are your hours of operation?
We're there from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, sometimes we're there a little later, but our operations generally run from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. We're not there on the weekends, and we're not there in the evenings.
Didn't mean to interrupt you. That just something came into my mind.
Mr.
Go ahead.
If I can answer any questions, I'd be happy to.
Mr. Chairman, I've got several questions. So it's a day-use facility, so people are dropping the person that has the needs off and then picking up on a daily basis?
Well, that's pretty rare. That's pretty rare.
It's an overnight facility?
No.
I think the majority of our traffic that we're coming through there are people applying for jobs because we provide transportation for all of our consumers. Now, once in a while, they don't, their parents bring them in after a doctor's appointment, stuff like that.
So you
generally
go and
pick them up and drop them off.
Pick them up and bring them?
Yeah.
So that's what the 6 vans are for?
That's what the vans are for.
And then how many employees and how many vehicles do they have?
Well, we have to maintain a support of at least 4 to 1. So for every 4 people we have in our program, we have to have at least 1 support person.
Are they only able to drop them off on College Circle to where, the gentleman said that, the young lady was trying to ride her bicycle, and if people are going around that cul-de-sac, I understand that health and safety concern there.
We can work around that. We can have them dropped off at College Drive, so that isn't a problem. Yeah, and we'll instruct our parents to bring them in there. When we bring our people in during the day, the driveways are reserved for them because they are handicapped.
So you said it was rare, but then you're saying that they're still bringing people in. So is it rare, or are they bringing them in daily?
It's rare that they bring them in, but we can ask them to bring them over to College Drive.
So it's rare that they do drop them off themselves, but they still do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got one gentleman who won't come unless his mom brings him.
And that's understandable.
That's one.
Sure.
We have 20. We won't go any larger than we really are now. We won't be any bigger than 20 people.
Are you open 24 hours a day? I heard someone asked.
No, but we provide services 24 hours a day. That could be confusing. Our day center is not.
Okay, so you're just, what are the hours again, you said?
From 8 to 5, yeah. Most of us leave at 3.
Any additional questions?
I'd like, in the back of the day, 10 years ago, when you first moved in there, were there other homes around you then?
Yeah, pretty much the same amount as now.
So it's kind of as I recall, these facilities are purposefully located in residential areas to better acclimate the people that take advantage of the services, as opposed to being in more of a commercial setting. Is that?
Well, yeah, we are teaching home living skills. I couldn't teach a home living skill here simply because it's not a home.
Right. Thank you.
I'd like to ask staff about the parking there. What's permitted?
Yes, Chairman, Commissioner Jones. The way this would typically work would be one of the conditions of approval of the rezone is review and approval of a site plan that would show how the property is going to operate. One of the requirements of a site plan, of course, is to show the adequate parking and how that's going to be provided, as well as ADA access and those sorts of things. Another condition of approval of this proposed, as proposed by staff, is, of course, meeting any applicable building codes. Any upgrades that may need to be done to the structures would have to meet the building codes applicable to that particular use. So the site plan review and approval process, as well as building permits, would be required for before they can actually officially use it for that use.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I got a question for Luke as well. Have you ever calced out how many parking spaces would be required for this square footage and this use of the facility?
Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Selberg, we don't have a specific designation for this particular use. The closest thing that we would have, and it seemed to be applicable, would be a daycare center. And that is 1 parking space for every 2 employees, plus 1 parking space for every 5 people being tended after. So 1 for every 2 employees, plus 1 for every 5 parking spaces, not parking, 1 for every 5 people. An alternate would be if in our parking ordinance there is language that says the Board of Supervisors can set a specific parking demand, parking requirement for a specific use. If you wanted to put some sort of requirement, some sort of parking, minimum parking, you could certainly make that recommendation, go on to the board. At this point, staff is operating under it. We would treat it as a daycare center. Thank you.
Any additional questions?
I have one.
Yes,
how large is this facility, square footage wise?
No, we've got one building that's about 2,000 square feet, and another building is about 1,800 square feet.
So you basically have 2 houses you're using?
2 houses next to each other, about total of about 3,800 square feet. We can't fit any more people in there. We're maxed.
I was just wondering about the restroom facilities and septic system. I mean, is that large
We've
enough to handle?
calculated that all out, and the amount of hours that they're there and how much they use it. It should be fine.
Any additional questions or comments?
The only other comment I have is that I think Luke is right. I think it should be treated as a daycare center as far as the amount of parking, but I don't think anybody could pull this off and make that work on that piece of property. So I don't think it's really feasible. It doesn't look like there's enough space to pull that off. What do you think, Luke?
Well, that would depend upon how the applicant was proposing to provide that parking. We have not seen a site plan at this point that shows the proposed parking layout. If it doesn't meet the parking minimum standards, then I don't know what other options they have. They may be able to come back to the board and ask for a determination for a reduced number of parking spaces based on that specific use, since it's not specifically outlined in the code. But it would be, I think it would be tough to get approval without the minimum number of approved parking spaces. Another option may be that they could maybe provide that parking off-site. They had made mention of a church or some other off-site location, I believe, where they were shuttling people. I don't know if the board or commission would be amenable to putting some sort of condition in there that would allow that. So technically, it may be difficult to provide all the on-lot parking that may be required for this for an approved site plan.
Yeah, I personally wouldn't be in favor of approving it if it didn't have adequate parking.
Can we, just as a question, tack on there, the parking has got to adhere to the county standards, and, you know, if there is some additional vehicles and they have to use another site to park the vehicles, it sounds like they have vans that they can bring the people in. Parking is an issue, and so at least that's what I'm hearing.
Well, now, technically, for site plan approval, it needs to meet the minimum number of parking spaces laid out on the property. So if they cannot provide that minimum number of parking spaces, then technically the site plan should not be approved. If we're going off of daycare parking standards, they would need to show that they have, let's say they had 20 maximum people there, so that would be 4 parking spaces for that. And I believe, Steve, you said you need 1 employee for every 4.
Yeah.
So that would be another 5. So that would, sounds like it'd be, my math is right, 9 parking spaces. And that sounds very difficult from my experience.
Yeah,
to get all those
considering
on there.
a lot of people live in a house and there's 5 cars parked in their driveways and yards, so it doesn't make sense.
If the applicant maybe could show some sort of preliminary plan, I don't know if that's something you would want to see, but the parking, I do see it would be tight at best.
So
Commissioner?
Yes.
Chairman, can we make this contingent on their getting approval on their parking?
Well, I was just trying to figure out in my mind how to ask the question of staff and the applicant on, there's 2 lots, 2 houses, and if they're going to treat this as a daycare center, right? Is that what you're saying, Luke?
It's technically under the allowed uses, it's a adult care, adult day health care. For the parking standards, we would seem to be have it meet the requirements for a daycare, yes.
Well, I guess my point is if we were to make a motion and it said that they would have to comply with the county parking standards based upon whatever those standards are, is that something, or should we come back and continue it for 30 days and you say, no, I want a plot plan of exactly where they're going to do this parking and how they're going to do it, including the off-site parking?
Well, I would say that you could certainly ask that they come back with some sort of preliminary plan or some sort of plan how they propose to provide the parking, whatever combination of on and or off-site for your review and for a recommendation. Certainly within your right now. Let me see if Chris Ballard has another question or comment on that.
Mr. Chairman, what you're asking is certainly within the Commission's purview. We can ask the applicant to bring us in a plot plan or a site plan. At present, this particular rezone is conditioned on a site plan being submitted to the department that shows an adequate number of parking spaces.
Okay, so they've got to submit it anyway. So
Have to submit it anyway. It's an administrative approval, and staff hasn't, we have authority on some forgiveness for surface material, we have no forgiveness on the standards. So I think if the commission agrees with staff that the most appropriate category to use in determining parking standards is the daycare center, we can move on that.
Okay, is that something we would have to put into a motion or, okay, all right, so.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I have one more question to the applicant.
Mr. Posnell?
Is there outdoor activities, or is this all the activities indoors?
Well, we have a garden in the backyard, but for the most part, it's all indoor.
What do you do there?
We teach people living skills.
Yes.
We teach them how to cook, how to clean, wash windows, how to look up menus, how to write menus, just about everything that most of us take for granted. We do in our normal day, they need extra help with.
Okay. Mr. Abbott behind you there had a comment that he wanted to make, I guess.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Kusher. I have just a couple of things. This is on a corner lot. The corner lot has RV parking in the rear. There's room for a number of parking in the back where you could put an RV off the alley. So there's a lot of things that can be done with the parking, and I'll just leave it up to Steve what he comes up with. I'd just like to say one thing to help you understand a little bit what this is. I have a friend, they have a little girl. She was 8 years old when I met her. She's blind, she's autistic, and they can't take her out of the house. They can only take her out of like one room, except she's totally hanging on to her mom or her dad or her grandmother. And I'm close to these people, and I just want to tell you one thing, that my only desire in doing whatever we did here, upset the apple cart. I don't want to do anything to disturb the neighbors or hurt them. We've got to make it comfortable and good for them and conform, or I would have no part of it. But I suggested they start taking her there about 2 years ago. Her mother told me about a month ago, she now is able to put her on a school bus in front of their house with limited assistance, and she goes to school and she's very happy. It's incredible what they do there. I've been there a number of times. There's people over here cooking. There's people over here opening potato chips, putting them on a plate for 2 or 3 that are sitting around tables. They have a skill here that's unbelievable, and I couldn't do it. The money is not there. They don't do it for the money. I rented him this house based on what he could afford 10 years ago, and I haven't changed the rent since. And I have some other similar ones that I've raised 10, 15, 20%. So this is a much needed and a facility and a person, this Steve, that just will do anything that he needs to do to conform. Now, if we can only come up with parking for 3, it can't. I understand all that. I've been one of your commissioners for a number of years, and I've brought many things to you. And I want to emphasize how important what he does there, and how important it is. There's been no homes built on that street, none whatsoever, since he moved there. So, and there's only 2 here, 2 possible for 4 more houses that could be built within 25 or 30 houses away. So it's filled up. And College Circle, I can see where that can be a problem. If they're coming in there and coming up College Circle and dropping people off, that's a stop could be put to that immediately. And just have them come into the driveway. There's 2 good-sized driveways, one on College Circle and one on College Drive, because it's on the corner, that no one could come in and drop people off except pulling into that driveway. So I'm not trying to redesign all that, but I'm just trying to emphasize why I Steve did all this stuff. He came to me about 4 months ago and he says, Bill, they're going to close me down. I said, why? He said, because I'm not zoned properly. I said, who says so? So I've never gotten an answer. Is it the state? Is it the county or who? But 10 years ago, when they moved in there, he was told he's got to be in a residential area or he can't operate a home like this. So it's a tough one. Any question for me?
Any questions of the speaker?
The only comment I have, sir, is I think they need better communication with the neighbors.
Yeah.
You know, I would definitely say that. And when we got this first letter, I asked Steve, have you talked to the persons? He said, no, I have. I've never. And then we got one letter, and then we got the letter with all the signatures on it. And I commend the guy for getting the signatures because I know how hard that is. So I definitely think we've got to do whatever I say he has to do whatever is necessary that he doesn't upset neighbors.
Right, I agree.
Where's the requirement to be in a residential? What is that requirement? Is that the requirement of, what's that requirement?
Let him try to answer it. I don't know.
Is that the requirement of the recipients? I mean, because a residential setting can be replicated. I mean, we've got them in the high school. You know, a residential interior setting can be replicated anywhere.
Mr. Posnell, 10 years ago when the rental agency came to me, I said, how's this going to work? I said, I mean, why does he want to move in a place like this? You know, and the information that I got, and I keep getting it, they require me to be in a residential area. I tried it in a commercial area and it don't work. So maybe Steve could answer some of those if you want him back up here. I don't know.
I think that's a good question. You mind coming back up, Steve?
Yeah, the requirement isn't a federal or state or county requirement. It's a requirement of normalization. Normalization is where you started in the 70s, back when we deinstitutionalized and started normalizing people because they were creating an abnormal situation by having them in institutions. The more normal the situation is, the quicker and more adequately a person will learn things. So learning a home skill is not normal in a school. They may make that happen. However, that's kind of like taking monopoly money to the grocery store and trying to buy an orange.
Okay, so we really don't, the question really is under what authority or
No, there's no authority.
Because I remember years ago, they were, group homes had to be in a residential area. And I remember that. That's been going back a long, long time.
That's part of the normalization.
Mr. Young, did you have a question or comment? I see you. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Steve. Come on up.
Well, my name is Tom Young. One of the things that I've noticed is that they're talking about the amount of cars. Someone said 4 because of the employees. Some said another 5 because of another reason. No one mentioned the fact that there's 3 vans, and at any one time we can drive by and count 15 vehicles sitting there. And if they come to the house and pick up the students and bring them there, anytime you drive by there, anytime you look, you can see a car parked there. He runs up and down the cul-de-sac and back. There is, I don't want to dispute anything, but there's more than 4 or 5 people dropping off students there. There's a lot of students.
The picture that we have, I'm looking at probably 10 or 15, so.
Yeah, there's 15 right here, and that's typical. That's typical. Another issue I want to bring up is that the center itself is all well and fine. That's very noble, except they are not confined to the property, and this. I have no one to make a complaint about this yet, but they take people 4 or 5 at a time and take them for a walk up around the cul-de-sac and bring them back. While I've been there, I witnessed a young man that evidently got away from the group or something, and I really felt sorry for him. He was totally lost. He stood in front of my house and was just ecstatic. He had no idea where he was at or nothing else. And my wife went out there and said, "Are you okay?" And by that time, one of the staff come up there and help him. Another complaint I have is the staff itself. Anytime you drive by there, you'll find 2 or 3 of them out in the front yard smoking. The staff, my wife is a CNA. Every time, their ratio was about 4 or 5 CNAs to 1, maybe 2 minimum wage young people. And that did not create problems because there's so many CNAs. I don't want to go into hourly wage, but there was enough CNAs, highly trained people, to take care of the people that they were taking care of, and only 2 or 3, what am I going to say, entry level or untrained people. It seemed like down there, a lot of the staff, and I don't know numbers, I don't know anything else, but it seems like a lot of the staff, it's just simply, pardon the expression, young people, they just hire off the street. If they can hire somebody minimum wage, bring them in.
If they can't accept minimum wage, then... Okay, we're really getting way off the topic.
What I'm saying is, yeah, right.
I'm trying to give you as much time as you can, but I got to stay on the issue here.
Well, but what I'm saying mostly is there's a lot more than 7 or 8 cars or 9 or 10 cars.
Well, I think what needs to happen there, if we come up with a motion to approve it, is the parking, and there are certain things that have got to be addressed.
And another thing that was not addressed, and this is I didn't realize that we didn't have a say-so about it, but I ended up with some of the signatures thrown out because it was rental, and I didn't realize that. But we ended up with something like 42 to 45 signatures out of 52. Of course, 6 of them is owned by the petitioner, so we don't sense even talking to them. 2 of them was, one of them anyway, I don't know about the other ones, was residents was renting from Mr. Abbott. So out of the 52, we have to eliminate 6 of them right there. Most of the people I talked to was talking about, where do we stand? We bought a residential property.
You understand R2 stands for residential? The R2?
With variations,
yes,
right.
Right, R1, yeah. R2, and RO.
Yeah.
So,
okay, yeah, we bought in RO.
Right.
And me and about most of the people I talked to would like very much to keep it that way. And that's all.
All right, any additional questions? All right, we'll close the public comment on that. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any comments, Commission?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to have a real hard time going along with approving this. I just think the business has outgrown the location. It doesn't seem like the residents are in full support, and I think the situation can be replicated. I think it's a very honorable situation. I think it's a very needed situation, but I feel like maybe they've outgrown this location, and it's time to look for something. So I would have a really hard time approving.
Okay. Well, I guess my point is it's been there for 10 years and operating, and no one ever came and said anything about anything.
But have they been that size for those 10 years? I mean, that's not the impression I'm getting. They started off and they've built up to this point, and now we're getting to that point. So I'm just, based on my opinion off of the comments that have been made today, and I am very familiar with this location. I've driven by it many times. I've driven down that cul-de-sac many times during the day when those vehicles are there, so I understand that safety concern as well. And I'm really struggling with.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
Could we address that issue? I have the same problem.
Absolutely.
What's happened? What occurred from 8 years after being there to now 10 years? Maybe Mr. Abbott could answer that.
Well,
Their
I
house is
think,
being built and people moving in.
Well, but they've been there for 6 and 8 years, and the houses essentially were there when they were there. Did you grow? Have you gone from what used to be 2 cars, now 15?
okay, make it quick, because I got a question.
Yeah, we've grown. But we've maxed out. We won't grow any larger. And if we need to reduce size, we can do that too.
Mr. Chairman, how long have you had 15 cars parked there on a regular basis?
Gosh, that's been the last, it's been there, until I put a stop to it, it'd been there for a year. And I fully understand everybody's apprehension. Yeah, I've had close calls coming out of there too. And so, we've moved everybody out. And this, we won't let anybody park there anymore like that, blocking the view. So that's just over.
Okay.
No matter what happens, that's over.
Sure, okay.
Oh, gosh, pretty much the last year we've been that size.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. See someone standing in the back. We'll make this quick if we can.
A real quick one.
Okay, we're actually done with the public comment. But
When I say they've grown, when they...
State your name, please.
Dina Martinez. I live right across. When I say they've grown, they started with that one house and just a few residents. Then they acquired the house next to that one, and there was some more residents there. And for a while, they had one across the street. Now, I don't know if they...
they're really not residents.
Oh, I don't know what they are.
Don't live there. I mean, if you're a resident if you live in a house.
Well,
okay?
those houses, whatever.
Careful.
The school. Anyway, that's how come I know they started small and they grew. They grew to what they are now. They had that house. I know they had one across the street. I don't know if they still do or not. So that's all I have to say. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we are done with the public comment now. I got a question of staff. What prompted this to come before the commission?
My understanding, Mr. Chairman, is that the applicant came in with a home occupation permit application on their own. I'm not sure what prompted them to come in. They presented that to the permit staff. The permit staff determined that it was not an applicable home occupation. And through that whole process, there was more and more things discovered about the operation of the property, and then it wasn't in compliance with the existing zoning.
Okay. How long ago was that?
Do you recall how long it was, Chris? Was it like 3 or 4 months ago? About 6 months ago?
Okay, all right. Any additional questions, staff? Anything?
No, it's zoned for daycare, right? It's zoned for the R2.
Well, R2 includes daycare, adult care,
Yeah,
actually I've seen daycare and single family.
Yes, that's
Yeah, I have
the proposed zoning would allow it. The existing zoning does not allow it as it's operating, as it's operating right now.
Okay, and actually the motion, we talked about the staff is going to have to, when they come back with a plat, you're going to have to do something with the parking, is that?
Yes, approval of, the condition of approval is, one of the conditions of approval is site plan review and approval.
Okay.
And before they get their site plan approved, they have to show how they're going to provide the adequate parking, the minimum adequate parking for the project.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to point out that it's kind of a gray area what the parking requirements would be, and I think it definitely has to be tied to a daycare center requirement for parking.
Right. I think that's what they're looking at, is that exact same thing.
And if you would like to amend staff recommendation to add that stipulation, by all means you can.
No, I think it would have to be added.
I think so too. I think so too, if that's what you guys decide. Okay. No questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve item number 11 per staff recommendations and a requirement that the parking be based on a daycare center.
Okay.
I'll second that for.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Selberg and a second by Mr. Buck. Jones, sorry. You guys should sit closer together.
You're right next to it.
Don't go there. Don't go there. We have a motion and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, and we have one nay. The motion carries. So.
2 nays, Mr. Chairman.
2 nays, yes. Mike, no, who was it? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. Okay, Mr. Buck and Mr. Posnell. Jones. Motion carries. Item number 12.
Item 12 is an evaluation of a request for zoning use permit on assessor's parcel number 32422-677A and 640A for an industrial gas filling and distribution facility in a C2 general commercial zone in the Kingman vicinity. We do have one objection on this request. I also had a discussion with Mr. Gibbleu from Unisource. I had apparently missed putting a paragraph in this staff recommendation regarding the Unisource comments. They indicate that there's an overhead distribution line that bisects this property, and that it should be noted that the facilities have to meet a minimum 10-foot away horizontally from the closest wire, and that they need to adhere to NESC and National Fire Safety Code standards for clearance for safety and maintenance purposes. And staff would add basically that paragraph to the staff recommendation. With that change, staff recommends approval as indicated in the staff report.
Mr. Montgomery, is the tank there now?
I don't believe so, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
This facility currently is located a couple doors down the street, and they're relocating or proposing to relocate to this site.
I didn't see one yesterday.
Okay. Is the applicant here? We have no speakers on item number 12. Any questions or comments from the commission? Mr. Buck has stepped away for a minute or two, but if we want to wait, we can do that. Also, if there's no questions or comments, entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve per staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Posnell, second by Mr. Walker. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Excuse me, can we make sure we add that one thing about what Unisource
With,
wanted,
right, with the recommendation, yeah, I'll amend my motion to approve per staff recommendation with the addition of the paragraph for the Unisource setback, 10-foot setback.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Call to the public. The public comment period is over. Any announcements? We have
Mr. Chairman.
Chris, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to bring to the commission's attention, particularly for those new commissioners that may not have been through this experience before, but at your December meeting, typically, historically, the county has purchased the commissioner's lunch on the day of the meeting. So we will be starting to arrange that lunch in the next couple of weeks. We may be contacting the commissioner, sending out an email concerning menus, location, things like that. I just want to make sure that you're aware of that and that you're sure to get back with John Ortman.
All right. I only entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you all.
You may get your version.
Authority.
What's that?
You may get your version.